everyone, today I'm looking forward to sharing my favourite vegan toasted sandwich recipes with you guys. And these are so delicious. They honestly don't need cheese in them at all. Actually, having gone vegan, I've not really enjoyed vegan alternative cheeses in toasted sandwiches. So I find that these recipes are a lot tastier, and I hope you guys agree. They do have a bit of fat in them, but I think it's quite nice sometimes to be able to have something a bit greasy, especially when it's vegan, because I often find that when I'm craving fatty things, veganism doesn't do it for me. So this definitely fills that need. So these toasted sandwiches, I'm making a mushroom and caramelised onion one, and I'm making a roasted capsicum and zucchini and pesto one. And these are my two favourite toasties, so tasty, and I hope you guys enjoy them. So firstly, for the mushroom toastie, I'm using some ciabatta, some mushrooms, a brown onion, some balsamic vinegar, rosemary, garlic salt, a clove of garlic, some vegan mayonnaise, some tomato relish, and some margarine or olive oil. To get started, I'm cutting up my brown onion, just cutting it in half and then cutting it into slivers like this. I'm putting my frying pan on medium heat and adding a little bit of olive oil. And then I'm adding my brown onion in there and just allowing it to simmer down until it goes transparent. Then once it's transparent, I'm adding about a tablespoon or two of balsamic vinegar in there and mixing that through. And then I'm also adding some garlic salt as well and just allowing it to cook for another 5 minutes or so. Then I'm taking 2 or 3 mushrooms and I'm just peeling them and cutting the bottoms off them. And then I'm cutting them into slices about this thick. And once my onions have caramelized, I'm just pushing them to the side and putting my mushrooms in there. In with my mushrooms, I'm adding a couple of pinches of rosemary, and I'm just allowing them to cook for a couple of minutes in a medium heat frying pan. Then I'm taking my ciabatta and I'm cutting 2 good slices from it, and I'm putting margarine on one side of them. You could also use olive oil instead. Once my mushrooms and onions are ready, I'm taking them out of the pan, and then I just put my bread straight into the pan where those onions and mushrooms were so that they can absorb some of the juices. Then once they're nice and crispy, I'm taking them off and putting some tomato relish on one side of one of them. On top of the relish, I'm putting a handful of the caramelised onions, and then I'm putting my mushrooms on top of that. Then I'm finally chopping up a clove of garlic, and then into my still warm pan, I'm putting that garlic with a little tiny drop of olive oil, allowing it to cook for about a minute, and then I'm adding a tablespoon of my vegan mayonnaise. I'm actually using vegan tortilla sauce here. It's just really cheap and it's one of those accidental vegan things. So I'm putting that into the pan and mixing it around for about 30 seconds just to get those garlicky flavours in there. And then I'm putting this mayonnaise on top of my mushrooms and onions, and then putting the other piece of bread on top. And it's finished, and it's so delicious. Andy and I both absolutely love these toasties. They do feel quite naughty because they've got the mayo and everything's like a little bit greasy in there, but it just tastes so delicious, and if that's what you're feeling like, it hits the spot perfectly. So the next toasted sandwich is my roast capsicum one. So for that, I'm using a capsicum, some ciabatta, zucchini, pesto, some rocket or other greens, some hummus, some paprika, pepper and salt, and margarine or olive oil. So for the pesto, I've made this in videos before, but I'll just go over it briefly again. So I use a cup of spinach, a cup of basil, half a cup of cashew nuts, half a cup of olive oil, half a lemon's juice, 2 cloves of garlic, some salt and some nutritional yeast and pepper. I just blend that all up in my blender until it's smooth, or you can leave it a little bit lumpy, and then that's finished. Then for the hummus, I've also made this before, so I'll just go through it quickly. A cup of chickpeas cooked, 1 lemon's juice, 2 tablespoons of tahini, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 teaspoon of cumin, a dash of paprika and pepper and salt. So with the hummus and pesto made, I'm going on to roast my capsicum. So I'm taking a red capsicum and I'm just cutting it into pieces about this big, and then I'm putting it onto a lined baking tray. And I'm preheating my oven to 200 degrees. I'm sprinkling a little bit of olive oil over my capsicum, and then I'm also putting some paprika on there and some garlic salt and also some pepper. And then I'm putting it in the oven on the 200 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes just to kind of char up a little bit and be nice and roasted. Then I'm taking my zucchini and I'm cutting it into thin strips. and I'm putting a little bit of pepper and salt and paprika on there, and I'm putting a little bit of oil in my frying pan on medium heat and putting the zucchini in there for about 30 seconds to a minute on either side. Once I've taken my zucchini out of the frying pan, I'm cutting a couple of slices of ciabatta again, putting the margarine on them and putting them in the frying pan as I did before. And once they're toasted, I'm putting pesto onto the bottom piece of bread, and on top of that I'm adding some of my roasted capsicum and some strips of zucchini, and then a small amount of greens, and then on the top piece of bread I'm putting a nice dollop of hummus. And then I just put it together and that's finished. I hope you guys enjoyed these two recipes. I think they're so tasty, and if you are trying out veganism for the first time or struggling with veganism, this sort of thing can really help out because they're so greasy and naughty and they don't feel classically vegan, and they're just really good and they're simple to make too. So I hope you guys enjoyed them, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.